Well, hello there from Texas, Grandpa Hickory. Please hit the like button. I'm inviting you to subscribe to my channel. I want to talk to you about, you know, back in the 50s, the 1950s, way back when, the only things that were odd, the oddities, I'm speaking of people in general, that we had back then. A lot of people called them creeps. We called them eccentrics, or, just, well, that's the first time I ever heard the word weird. And then in the 1960s, they called them weirdos. And I'd never heard those words before. I'd never even heard the word weird. I'd never heard it in reference to a human being. But back in the 1950s, the oddities that we had back then were nudists and beatniks. Beatniks and nudists. Now, to my knowledge, anybody that takes all their clothes off and walks around naked, we always termed a mental patient. I mean, I'm not making fun. Please don't think that I am judging somebody or making fun. I'm just saying that was the way it was. I mean, just like in the UK here, I think a day or two ago, there was a woman that her longtime pet died. I think it was a doggy. I don't know what it was. I think it was a little doggy. And she jumped up, went out, took her clothes off, and showed everybody. Well, see, that nowadays we know the terms dementia and things like this. And back then we didn't. I mean, to us, they were just somebody that, needed to be, put in a mental home somewhere and looked after before they did harm to their self. Well, now, that was nudists. They had what they called nudist colonies. We just considered that they were filthy people. We dismissed it. We didn't even dwell on it. We didn't even think about it. If you saw the word nudist, you just shoved it out of the way and went on reading in the newspaper. Well, now the beatniks were totally different. Now, these were young people. They were high school teens, some of them were, and college students. They were very well dressed. They were very clean. And they would go to diners or little, they called them beatnik joints. And it was strictly for beatniks. And, the college crowd and the upper high school teens aspiring to go into college, and they wanted to fit in. So back then it was being a beatnik. And if you went in there just to see what these people were, what this oddity was about, they would just sit there staring, not at you, but just staring at the wall. Nobody said a word. Sometimes music played. Most of the times there was no music. Now listen, if I got to go somewhere in order to get into, go into college or whatever I'm going to do, a grade or whatever of high school, if I've got to go somewhere and sit down and just sit there and stare off into space. Now, they didn't take drugs. This was before the drug era. The beatniks were not into drugs. They were not hippies. These were clean, well-shaved, well-dressed. Most of them come from middle classes, families, and upper class families. Some of them were a lot of the very rich over in the Highland Park area of Dallas, Texas. There were so many beatniks, it was unbelievable. And these were people that out in the parking lot, I mean, they had Corvettes, Now, back then, the Stingrays and everything was something else. They had the SS 396s, they had the Camaros. I mean, listen, they had the Austin Healey's. The sports car, the Austin Healey. A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about when I mention that, but you can Google the Austin Healey, and they were very well known. My brother-in-law, before he died, he would buy Austin Healey's, rebuild them, and turn around and sell them. And he's making very lucrative living like that. I mean, the guy made a lot of money. He had a full-time job, plus he did that on the weekends. He was always in his garage working. But we're talking about people that, they didn't know what to do with themselves. So they called themselves beatniks. And everybody wanted to be a beatnik. Not me, but I mean, people that rushed in there. And, of course, you couldn't be excited or talk or anything. You had to go in there and just sit there and look off like you're not interested. That's the way they all got along with each other. That was their fellowship. But that was the difference. And that's what we had back then. Now, you fast forward to the 1960s, the hippie generation, and along come what they called Woodstock. Now, this changed everything. This changed the whole entire mentality, I guess you would say, of the word nudist. Now, these were drug addicts, and they were filthy people, and they would lie and tell people, free love, they'd say. And it didn't have anything to do with love at all. It was fornication. It was a way that young boys could take advantage of young girls, and old men could take advantage. That's right. I'm calling it out here. Old men could take advantage of young girls, have them take their clothes off and have their way with them, right out there with everybody else. They called it orgies. We didn't know what orgies meant. We didn't know what that meant. But it changed everything. It changed everything. But back in my day, back in the 1950s, way back when, the biggest oddity was beatniks and nudists. Well, now listen, I appreciate you for stopping by. I've got my tea. I hope you got your coffee. And I want you precious people to have a good day. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.